can't believe Calvin Johnson just put Magic Johnson on the spot. But before diving into this bombshell that's got all of Washington buzzing, let me tell you something that's going to completely change how you see this organization. Because while everyone talks about contracts and money, I'm here to explain why what's happening with our young talents, and even those who are no longer here, shows that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are building something historic in the DMV. And let me be clear right from the start. What we're discussing today isn't just isolated news. These are pieces of a puzzle that show how this organization finally understands what it means to develop a winning culture. From how we develop talent that other teams now want, to how we identify diamonds in the rough, to how we treat our established stars. First news that's going to surprise you and demonstrate the level of coaching we have. It turns out, a former commander many thought was lost is now the key to Trevor Lawrence having his breakout season in Jacksonville. You remember Diami Brown, that receiver who seemed like he'd never break out here in Washington, right? Well, let me tell you something. I always said that guy had talent. He just needed the right system. But let's dive deeper into this story, because what happened with Diami Brown is a masterclass in player development that many people aren't seeing. Brown was selected in the 3rd round in 2021, pick 82 overall. During his first 3 seasons with us, he never surpassed 28 receptions in a single season. His best year before 2024 was in 2022 with 255 receiving yards. Do you know what that means? It means that for 3 consecutive years, Diami Brown looked like a total bust. Fans on Reddit were calling for him to be cut. Analysts had completely written him off. But something changed dramatically in 2024. Under Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury's system, Brown had a regular season that on paper looks modest, just 30 receptions and 308 yards. But, and here's what everyone is missing, those 308 yards were more production than in his 2 previous seasons combined, and more importantly, the timing of his contributions was perfect. Because you know what happened in the playoffs? He completely transformed. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you Diami Brown became an X factor during our historic run to the NFC Championship game. He averaged 16.4 yards per reception during those playoffs. 16.4 yards per reception. Do you understand what that number means? To put it in perspective, Calvin Ridley, considered an elite deep threat, averaged 12.9 yards per reception in 2024. Devonta Smith of Philadelphia averaged 13.9. Diami Brown surpassed them both at the most important time of the year. And now Jacksonville just gave him a 1-year, $10 million contract because they saw exactly what we developed. Here, $10 million for 1 year, for someone who many considered a practice squad player 6 months ago. That's talent development, and you know why this is more than important for us? Because it demonstrates 3 fundamental things about this. Organization under Peters and Quinn. First, they know how to maximize talent even when players don't explode immediately. Second, the offensive system Cliff Kingsbury implemented truly works for developing receivers. And third, when other teams see what we do here, they want to replicate it. I'm telling you this, when your organization can take a receiver who wasn't producing for 3 years and turn him into a key piece for a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence to potentially break out, that speaks of elite coaching. And I'm not just talking about coaching receivers. I'm talking about system coaching, mental preparation, confidence development. That's burgundy and gold development, baby. We're creating a reputation where players know they're going to get better here, no matter their starting situation. But if that surprises you, wait to hear this, because now we're going with a story that's going to make you as excited as I am about the future of our defense. We have a young defensive back who has just been tagged as one of the top breakout candidates in the entire NFL for 2025. I'm talking about Mike Sainristil, and what PFF just said about him is going to make you understand why Joe Witt Jr. is so confident in our secondary, Bradley Locker from Pro Football Focus. One of the most respected analysts when it comes to cornerback evaluation included Sainristil on his team of players set to explode this year. And when you read his reasons, you're going to understand why I've been saying since the draft, this kid was going to be special. But first, let me give you the full context of what Mike Sainristil achieved in his rookie season, because the numbers I'm about to give you will blow your mind. Our young cornerback had a PFF grade of 65.8 in his first season, with a coverage grade of 64.5. For a rookie, those are solid numbers. But here's the crazy part. He was playing out of position all year. Sainristil is naturally a slot corner. In Michigan, where he was an absolute machine, he played predominantly in the slot and was practically unstoppable. But out of necessity, we had to use him on the outside corner for most of his rookie season. And he was still productive. Do you realize how difficult that transition is? It's like asking a relief pitcher to be a starter, or a running back to play fullback. They're technically similar positions, but with completely different responsibilities. On the outside, you have to deal with bigger receivers, longer routes, and less help from safeties. In the slot, you can use your agility, instincts, and tackling skills more effectively. But here's what's really exciting. With the arrival of Trey Amos in the second round of the 2024 draft, Sainristil is finally returning to the slot, where he dominated in Michigan and where his natural abilities will shine at the highest level. Locker says, the strong ball production and tight coverage of Sainristil should only improve with him back in the slot in 2025. And when I say it's going to improve, I mean dramatic improvement. Did you see the numbers this kid put up as a rookie playing out of position? 93 tackles for a cornerback. To put it in perspective, that put him among the top 10 cornerbacks in tackles in the entire NFL. 62 of those tackles were solo, demonstrating he doesn't need help to take down receivers. But it's the defensive stats where he really shined. 2 interceptions and 14 passes defended. 14! And that's playing out of position. Now imagine what he's going to do when he's playing in his natural position, where he can better use his instinct to read quarterbacks and anticipate routes. I believe Sainristil is going to be an absolute revelation this year. When a rookie can produce those numbers playing out of position, and now you put him in the position where he's most comfortable, with a year of NFL experience under his belt, that's a recipe for explosive success. And here's what has me most excited. Our secondary is going to be scary this year. Marshawn Lattimore on one side, Sainristil dominating the slot, Jeremy Chin and Quan Martin at safety, and now with more experience and chemistry among all of them. Joe Witt Jr. is going to have the tools to create a defense that will pose serious problems to the entire NFC East. Because let me ask you something. When was the last time we could confidently say our secondary was going to be a strength instead of a weakness? It's been years since we had that confidence. But now, with Sainristil returning to his natural position and developing under Witt's system, we can finally say we have a secondary that can compete with any. And just when you thought we were done, here comes the news that really has me talking to myself around the house. Calvin Johnson, the legendary Megatron, just publicly defended Terry McLaurin and basically told Magic Johnson to stop playing games and pay our star receiver what he's worth. And I'm going to explain why this is more significant for the future of our organization. Calvin Johnson knows exactly what it feels like to be an elite receiver in an organization that doesn't always value its stars appropriately. He lived that frustration in Detroit, where despite being one of the best receivers in NFL history, he never won a Super Bowl because the organization didn't build properly around him. And now he's potentially seeing the same situation developing with Terry McLaurin in Washington. In a recent interview, Johnson was straightforward. Magic, pay that man. Terry McLaurin has been loyal, productive, and exactly what you need in a number 1 receiver. Don't make the same mistakes we've seen in other organizations. And let me tell you why Calvin Johnson's words carry so much weight. This isn't the casual opinion of someone commenting from the outside. It's a legendary receiver who lived the frustration of not being valued appropriately, recognizing another elite receiver and telling Magic Johnson not to make the same mistakes. Detroit made with him, and the specific words Johnson used are important. He said, "I don't know Terry well, but from afar, the guy has been nothing but consistent for that organization. He's been a pillar there in Washington his whole career. And you know, he plays his role, plays it well. He steps up in big games. And I love watching the guy because he's always making plays. A pillar." Those were his exact words. When a Batesy idea, Hall of Famer uses the word pillar to describe a player. He's talking about someone who not only produces stats, but defines the identity of an organization. That's exactly what Terry McLaurin has been for us. But let's dive deeper into why Johnson is absolutely right and why his public intervention should be a wake-up call for our new ownership. Terry McLaurin has been the heart of our offense since he was drafted in the 3rd round in 2019. 3rd round. Finding a receiver of his caliber in the 3rd round is like finding gold in an abandoned mine. Since his rookie season, Terry has been the definition of consistency and excellence. He's had 5 consecutive seasons with over 1,000 receiving yards. Do you know how many active receivers in the NFL have done that? Only 8 receivers in the entire league have 5 consecutive 1,000-plus yard seasons. Terry is in the company of Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, and Stephon Diggs. That's the level of company Terry McLaurin is in. And all those other receivers have been paid as top 10 receivers in the league. All except Terry. But last year was really his masterpiece season. 82 receptions for 1,096 yards and 13 touchdowns. 13 touchdowns! To put it in perspective, only 11 receivers in the entire NFL had more receiving touchdowns than Terry in 2024. And many of were made. Those players had a lot more red zone opportunities than he did. Those stats earned him his first second-team All-Pro selection and his second Pro Bowl. But here's what makes those numbers even more impressive. He achieved them while Jaden Daniels was still learning to be an NFL quarterback. Imagine what Terry is going to do in year 2 with Daniels when they have complete chemistry. I'm telling you this, Magic Johnson and Josh Harris said they were going to reset the culture in DC. Do you know how you start resetting a culture? By paying your elite players in a way that reflects their real value. Terry McLaurin isn't just a good receiver. He's the receiver who kept this offense afloat during the years when we had quarterbacks like Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, and Sam Howell rotating. But here's the problem that has me frustrated. Terry is missing mandatory minicamp because he doesn't have his extension. And I completely understand why he's doing that. After 5 years being the only consistently reliable receiver in this organization, after producing with a parade of mediocre quarterbacks, after being loyal when he could have asked for a trade. During the dark years, now they're going to bargain when we're finally competitive. Now I'm asking you something straight. If Calvin Johnson, who lived the frustration of an organization not valuing its stars enough, is publicly telling Magic to pay Terry, don't you think they should listen? Because let me be clear about something I believe many people aren't understanding. This isn't just a normal contract negotiation. This is a fundamental test of whether the new management really understands how to build a winning culture versus just talking about it. And while Magic Johnson is deciding whether to pay Terry or not, other teams are watching very closely. Do you think if Terry reached free agency, there wouldn't be 15 teams ready to immediately give him the money he deserves? Of course there would be. That's burgundy and gold pressure. This decision about Terry will determine if we've really changed as an organization, or if we're still the same franchise that has made bad decisions for decades. But all this leads me to questions I need you to answer in the comments, because I want to know exactly what you're thinking about each of these situations. Do you think Magic Johnson is going to listen to Calvin Johnson and pay Terry McLaurin what he's truly worth? Or are they going to make the same mistake so many organizations have made by letting their stars go over a few $1 million? Do you think Mike Sainristil is going to have a breakout season as big as PFF predicts when he returns to his natural position in the slot? And can you imagine how scary our secondary is going to be with Lattimore, Sainristil, and Amos working together? And what do you think about the fact that Diami Brown is helping Trevor Lawrence after what he achieved here during the playoffs? Does it show that our coaching staff really knows how to develop talent? Or was it just lucky timing? Let me know in the comments what you think about each of these news pieces, because I genuinely want to hear your opinions and have a real conversation about these topics. If you believe Terry deserves his extension right now, give this video a like. If you think Sainristil is going to be an All-Pro this year, subscribe to the channel. Because this is more than a community of fans talking about football. We're a burgundy and gold family that has suffered together through the bad times, and now we're celebrating together during these good times. United. We've seen how this organization is finally doing things right, from developing young players to making tough decisions about veteran contracts. And if you want to keep being part of this family that's living the true rebirth of the Washington Commanders, subscribe, because tomorrow we're going to have more explosive news about our team. Because I guarantee this offseason is just beginning, and you're going to want to be here for every single important development that affects our team. And remember, hail to the Redskins!